Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the New York Sports Rush, brought to you by Bet Rivers. And, of course, I'm joined by Mark Feinsand, MLB.com senior national reporter. Mark, how are you? Thanks for joining me this morning.
I'm good, Bull. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. You know, it's a beautiful time of the year where the pennant races are heating up. There's a lot of excitement around Major League Baseball and frankly, a lot of competition. You know, we've talked a lot. You and I have talked, and I've talked all year about the fact that the American League is not very good. It's wide open, but it really doesn't matter in the end. You want the competition, and we have it. You look at the battle for the final wild card spot for the Twins have the third wild card right now. The Rangers, Blue Jays, Guardians, Orioles, Tigers, and Mariners are all 2.5 games or less. So they may all be mediocre teams, but at least it's exciting. I'll take it.
I was going to say they're all under 500, and that's not what you'd want ideally.
Yeah.
And all of them, except for the Tigers, have negative run differentials. Like, it's just a mess of a race. But I mean, the other day I woke up, and I think it was 3 or 4 days ago, and there were 5 teams tied for the last spot of the AL wild card. And you're like, this is going to be a wild 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's all you can ask for is for meaningful games. And in the American League, at least, other than the Royals, the Angels, and the Athletics, every game down the stretch for every other team has meaning to it. And, that's all you want. You just want games that matter. And we're going to get those for the next 5 weeks or so.
What's your level of confidence that the Yankees could catch the Rays for the division crown?
I mean, confidence? I mean, they're 5 games out, so I can't say that they're necessarily, that I would be confident because the Rays have been really good this year.
Yeah.
But they play them 4 more times. They may have to go and sweep them in that series, or, even if you take 3 out of 4, you only pick up 2 games there. So you need, some help from others. I don't love their chances, but there are chances. Max Fried being back on the IL doesn't help matters any. They still don't know exactly when Aaron Judge is going to be back. So if I'm the Yankees, frankly, I focus more on getting healthy, getting right. And if it means you have to play a 3-game series in the wild card round versus getting the bye, I mean, so be it. It's going to be the penalty for not being as good as the Rays this year, or at least for having some more major injuries that have really hurt you down the stretch. But the fact that the Yankees have the second best record in the American League, despite missing Aaron Judge for the last 2-3 months, Fried for a good part of the season, Rodon for a good part of the season, etc. I think they're happy to be where they are given all of their circumstances.
Do you think, and maybe, it's easy to say it now because it's the Yankees, and I'm not bringing it up for this reason, but do you, obviously the Yankees are way better than the White Sox, who would be the number 2 seed if the playoffs started today. Do you think there should be any consideration? I could say the same thing in the National League. Well, not really, but the Cubs are 20 games over 500, and they're going to have to play in a wild card series. It just happens. But should there be any consideration given if a division winner is really terrible to changing the seeding process, or do you like the way it is?
No, I like the way it is. You need to be rewarded for winning your division.
Yeah.
And I think, if you happen to be, look, it's one of those years where right now in the American League East, the Red Sox are in 3rd place in the American League East, and they would be in 1st place in both other divisions. So, that happens occasionally. We see in the NFL where you have an 8-9 team win its division and a 10-win team doesn't make the playoffs. Look, that's just the way the standings crumble, I guess. So I don't have a problem with it. Win your division and you get the bye. But it is. I just it'll even out and level out over the course of time in terms of there'll be a year where the Yankees will win their division and they'll have a worse record than somebody, but they'll get the bye.
39 days left to go in the regular season. When you look at, where the Yankees sit, and you talked about how, they don't know yet about Aaron Judge. I asked about your confidence level of them winning the division. What about your confidence level that at some point before the end of the regular season, Aaron Judge will be back?
I feel pretty confident about that. He started some light baseball activities. I mean, we knew this was going to be, in all likelihood, a September thing. It's certainly looking that way. The question is it September 5th or is it September 15th?
Right.
I still believe he's going to be back. Because at this point, the Yankees really have no motivation to lie about that, right? And if they weren't going to bring him back, he wouldn't be doing any activity. He would just be healing and making sure he was good to go for next spring training. I was questioning it a little bit before the trade deadline of the Yankees wouldn't have any reason to tell us that he wasn't coming back before the trade deadline because then they know that every team would be holding them hostage
Sure.
for the prices for any hitters. Once the deadline passes, then there's really um, there's no motivation behind any making out any stories up about him coming back. I
Right.
think he's going to give it a whirl. I think he's going to try to come back. But at the same time, they're not going to be silly about this. They know that he is a huge longer term asset for the next 4 or 5 years as well. They're not going to do anything to put him in jeopardy. But they also know that he's their best chance to get to the World Series this year. So there's a balance there. But I do expect him to at least do everything he can to get back in September.
Do you think that I look at the White Sox, and I was mentioning to you off the air that I was at Wrigley Field for a couple days, and obviously the Cubs took 2 out of 3 from the White Sox, but the White Sox, I just expected them to fall. Same thing with the Twins, frankly. I know the division's bad, but I thought the White Sox would be okay this year. They've been better than I thought. I thought the Twins would be terrible. And they've been, average. They've been okay, middle of the pack. I got to say, I'm impressed by, I think these 2 teams, I know the White Sox have been moving in this direction for longer, but I do think that both of these teams are decent baseball teams playing better than I expected. What say you for those 2?
I agree. I thought the White Sox would be better than they
Yeah.
were last year. I did not expect them to be first place better.
Yeah.
And I thought the Twins were going to be a little better than last year because they just had everything go wrong for them. But again,
Yeah.
I thought that the Tigers and the Royals and the Guardians were going to be the top 3 in that division.
Yeah.
I actually picked Kansas City to win a wild card. I really liked what they had coming into the season, and they've just had a nightmarish year.
Yeah.
Obviously, Detroit is in the playoff mix, and they've had kind of a nightmare year as well. But no, the White Sox, I mean, Murakami was certainly a revelation for them. At 29 home runs right now, he's missed 30 games or so, and he's still got 29 bombs and like a 900 OPS. So
Right.
he's been great. Colson Montgomery has been an outstanding. Miguel Vargas continues to be really good. Like these aren't household names around the fan world.
Right.
Fans outside of Chicago, or unless you're like a hardcore fantasy baseball player, probably don't know who a lot of these guys are.
Right.
But you've got those 3 guys all with 25 home runs or more. Tristan Peters was an all-star this year, great center fielder. He actually, I think he's got like a 3.5 WAR. He's been really good, and the pitching is also sort of a bunch of no-name guys who are having pretty good years. I mean, Sean Burke's got a 3 ERA and 140 innings. That's pretty solid. So they're in a situation where they're young, they're trying to do something sort of ahead of schedule. And they're playing in a division where you don't have to beat the Yankees and the Rays to get to the playoffs. So, the Twins, I mean, nobody believed them, myself included to some extent. A few weeks before the deadline, I kept hearing from people, they're not selling. Like, stop putting Joe Ryan and Ryan Jeffers in your trade stories. We're not trading them. We're going to buy. And I was like, we'll see about that when it push comes to shove. When we get to like August 1st, August 2nd, let's see where you are. And they did what they said. And, a couple of the relievers they picked up blew up in a couple of games for them early, which wasn't helpful. But, I think there's a bright future there. And I think, they're, like you said, I mean, Cody Clemens has 21 home runs. You have that on your bingo card, let me know.
Absolutely not. Speaking of guys who had a ton of home runs this year, Ben Rice homered yesterday, getting back to the Yankees. Obviously, he's been in a major slump since last couple of days of July, but he's homered 2 of the last 3 days. Obviously, he's had a tremendous season. Do you think he's coming out of this funk he's been in for about 3 weeks?
I mean, it certainly looks like it. I think it's only natural if you're Ben Rice. Not only that every hitter goes through slumps in baseball. I mean, you find me a hitter who's never gone through a slump, and I'll tell you he's lying.
Yeah.
But with Judge out and with Bellinger out, And with Stanton still not back, and with Dominguez in the minors now, and all these things, right? It's only natural, and Austin Wells was hitting, 150, and just Jazz Chisholm was in a bad slump. Like, it's only natural for a guy like Rice, who was carrying the offense, to try to continue doing that and put a little too much pressure. Maybe you're going up there thinking, I have to hit a home run here, or we're not going to score runs. He's this is his breakout year, and I think the fact that he's been the one guy in the lineup who's been able to contribute on a pretty much regular basis all year, that's got to weigh on a guy eventually when he knows that the team is basically counting on him to provide the offense. So maybe that was the situation with Rice. Maybe he's, kind of bringing himself down a little bit. Now he's got Luis Garcia there. Lombard is up doing his thing. So maybe he feels like there's a little more help for him and he can relax a little more. I'm not a psychiatrist. That's just my theory of having watched this happen time and time again, where there's one guy in the lineup producing and nobody else is. He tends to, unless you're Aaron Judge and you're just used to doing it all the time, uh, those guys tend to try to take on a little more of the load as they should, and you see them swinging a pitches outside the zone, and all of a sudden you're in a 2 for 30 slump, and it's like, well, what happened to this guy? Because now he can't score runs at all. So I think there's a chance that, with a little more help in the lineup now, Rice may start getting back to his old self.
I want to talk about the Mets for a minute. Obviously, they've played better since, the trade deadline, but they're certainly not in any competition. But one of the few highlights they've had down the stretch of the season, I can't believe I'm saying this, is Kodai Senga.
I knew you were going.
Yeah. 6 innings out of the pen since his last start at the end of July. So in August, 6 innings. He's given up 1 run, which was yesterday, but he's only allowed 6 base runners. He has 7 strikeouts. He has 4 saves. Are we buying at all that this could be a role for him going forward? Or is this just we stink, we traded the whole bullpen just for this year?
I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, look, Senga's got good stuff. He throws hard. And if you can compact that into 1 inning where you're not looking for him to go out there and face a lineup 2 times into the 3rd time, he certainly has the stuff to be able to do that. I think he's got 1 year left on his deal. I'm trying to look right now as we speak because I'm trying to multitask to see what the money left on it is. I think it's like $15 million. It's $15 million next year. And with a $15 million team option for 28, if you had asked me 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, where's Kodai Senga going to be next year?
Right.
I might have said he's either going to get DFA'd or they were just going to eat the money and let him walk, or they would have traded him for a lottery ticket prospect and eaten 10 million to the 15 million.
Yeah.
Now, look, if he spends the next 5 weeks in this closer role and has success doing it, and I understand these games aren't meaningful to the point of like trying to contend, but if he can show that he can do this job, $15 million for a closer is pretty good rate.
Yeah.
When you look at what some of these other relievers are making, including Devin Williams. So obviously Devin Williams is going to, have that job back. I don't think that's going to be an issue. But if Senga can show that he's a good late inning reliever, well, maybe you've got your replacement for Luke Weaver. So, I think the Mets have to be happy with what they've seen, and it has to be somewhat encouraging to know that this isn't necessarily a sunk cost and a lost cause, because if he can fill another role, well, that's something they're going to pay him either way. So if you can get something out of him that helps your team going forward, that's a plus.
And the home run, by the way, Ben Rice hit yesterday was 447 feet. And the reason I know that, because I wasn't watching the game yesterday, is that Sarah Langs tweeted about that it was the longest home run of Ben Rice's career. And the reason I bring that up is, of course, the shirt you're wearing. Baseball is the best. For those who don't know, Mark Sarah, of course, is the stats guru at MLB.com. And I have one of those shirts as well. Could you, for those who may not know about Sarah, could you kind of fill everybody in about who she is and what she's going through?
Sarah is a researcher extraordinaire who
Yeah.
probably loves baseball more than any human being on earth. And every time she tweets, every time she talks about baseball, her catchphrase is "baseball is the best," and she means it.
Yeah.
Several years ago, Sarah was diagnosed with ALS, which obviously was a crushing blow to anybody who's ever known her, because she is the most bubbly, most personable, happiest woman I've ever met in my entire life. And to see her stricken with this has been really hard. And yet you would never know, because she still has this unbelievable attitude. I saw her at the All-Star game, smiles, just she's just enjoying life to the fullest to whatever extent she can. This shirt was done by RotoWear, to use Sarah's catchphrase with "End ALS" as part of it, and the profits from the shirt went towards ALS research. And it was probably, I would imagine it's one of the more popular shirts they've sold, because Sarah's one of the more popular people in the world, and
Yeah.
anybody who's ever met her just is drawn to her immediately. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman.
Yeah, great human being, and ALS is the worst. And anybody that can do anything, please contribute in any way that you can. Mark, I appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you again soon. And baseball is the best. So thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks, Paul.
All right, we'll take that's going to do it for today. Thanks to the guys, Alex and Drew, for producing today. We'll talk to you next time on the New York Sports Rush, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.